CyberRisk TV is here, recording live from the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida. Welcome back again to Zero Trust World 2025. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me for our final interview of the day today, on day 2, is Slava Konstantinov.
Yeah,
Konstantinov?
Konstantinov. Close enough. I got used to it.
Slava is a Mac OS software developer at ThreatLocker. Welcome, Slava.
I'm a Mac lead architect.
Mac lead,
fancy
okay.
name.
This is what they gave me. So that's off the teleprompter. But
yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so it's interesting today because we're kind of having non-Windows Day today.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier we talked about Linux.
Yes.
And now we're talking about Mac OS, and I think we've long passed a point where attackers were solely focused on Windows, right?
Yes.
Long Macs are way more popular. All the people you want to target are using Macs now, right?
Yes.
Like the CEOs are using Macs, the developers are using Macs, the hackers, the security people.
A lot of people. It's getting bigger. At the same time, a lot of companies still use Windows. Mm-hmm. So, but like 10% of the people of the, and not any company, but a lot of companies, they basically use Macs. And a lot of C-level people use Macs. So it's pretty high target people.
Yeah.
So Mac is getting bigger. Everything's like, they sell more Macs, like the devices, itself. Mm-hmm. So the target is much, much bigger. And malware, like if we're talking about malware, it's getting bigger because cryptocurrency. They try to steal your money, basically.
Yeah, so originally, InfoStealer malware was entirely focused on stealing cryptocurrency, stealing wallets and things like that. Piece of malware gets on your machine and just searches for that kind of stuff. Yeah. And at some point, I imagine these malware developers realized, wait a minute, there's logged on sessions. There's your Slack session. I can grab your... maybe I use Notion a lot, maybe they go off and we can sell access to these different sessions and you can just grab somebody's OAuth key and off you go. MFA doesn't matter anymore because I'm already logged in.
Yes. Haven't you heard about malware as a service?
Yeah.
So basically it's subscription to malware. Mm-hmm. So some hackers, they write a malware and just sell it to every threat actor that needs it. Yeah. So it's getting more widespread just because of
this.
They
have roadmaps. They have here's our features. Here we're adding 4 more features. We're now we're including Discord. We're stealing Discord access tokens. Yeah.
Yes. And Discord for Mac, it has vulnerability. So you have to be on the Mac. It's not a remote attack, but your app can use Discord to get access to your camera, to your microphone.
Oh, wow.
I've done demo on that earlier today. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. For the security standpoint.
We geek out about things you don't want to...
but it's scary at the same time.
Yeah. So exciting for us. We're not saying it's good.
Yeah, no, it's not. Definitely not.
It's just, we admire the game. We admire the skill and the...
As a security researcher, obviously, I get excited how when they find something, but working at ThreatLocker now, I'm more defensive than offensive side now. So I don't have much time to research anymore. Yeah. But it's still fun.
Well, you understand the fundamentals, so it's really important to understand that offensive side, and for a long time we were kind of ringing this bell of, Macs are not fire and forget. You still have to worry about risks on Mac. And in fact, I think kind of the ultimate place that you get validation for where you're focusing your time is looking at other breaches. How are these breaches happening?
Obviously.
And we've seen some very high-level breaches. I think the Circle CI breach and the LastPass breach both started out on Macs.
Yes.
On either InfoStealers or I think in one case it was like a vulnerability on some other piece of software running on the home network, and they were able to laterally move over to the Mac, steal AWS keys.
Yes, to everything that you have. So they can steal your passwords. They can steal if Mac is, if we compare Windows and Mac, Apple tries to give more privacy to user and basically more protections for Mac OS. But at the same time, it's not perfect. There's nothing perfect in this world. Right. And if you look at
by perfect, you mean unusable. Right?
So there's
you perfectly lock something down, it's unusable. So of course these machines are going to defer to making it convenient to use, right?
Yes, yes. So there's a trade-off always between privacy, security, because like Apple tries to do the best they can. And if you look at the release notes of their security patches, every macOS release, you'll see a lot of things they fix every time, every day, not every day, every release. But at the same time, if you like dig deeper, because they don't they don't say what
they don't talk.
but they say, oh, we fixed this, like this kind of app or service in the Mac. But recent update, they fixed 3 or 4, maybe 5. I don't remember now on top of my head, but they fixed AirPlay vulnerabilities, like 3 or 4. So basically, it's remote attacks.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen them yet. Like at some point, it was 0 day. Someone could use that to attack your Mac from this place. Basically, you have a Mac here. They can connect to your AirPlay. I mean, I don't know how it works. I've never researched that. It was pretty recent.
AirPlay or AirDrop?
AirPlay.
AirPlay,
AirDrop, it's been vulnerable for a long time. Even a lot of companies, they use like MDM, so they block AirDrop.
Right.
Completely block it. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, if you get 2 iPhones too close together, they initiate.
Oh, now,
AirDrop.
yes.
Yeah.
It's even easier.
It happens accidentally all the time. Sometimes I'm just sitting across the table from someone, and they're doing the same thing as me, and our phones get too close, and it pops up. Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can protect iOS as much as we can protect macOS. Still problem protecting macOS because Apple deprecated drivers. Kernel extensions. Yeah. I mean, they call it kernel. Apple needs like their own name for everything.
Yeah.
And that's Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence or like
a
kernel.
lot of security apps, the way they were originally architected, stopped working on iOS because everything became sandboxed. There's no way to install an app that had like broad visibility of what was going on the device.
Exactly.
Which is, I'd argue like the app was the temporary fix, and that kind of is, this kind of zero trust architecture, which we see very much baked into Android and iOS. It's that seems like the correct fix, like the permanent
It's not
fix.
a particular zero trust because it's been multiple times that some malicious apps go to the App Store.
Yeah.
And user can download them, and it's basically...
Yeah, but they can do less on your phone once they get on there, right?
Yes, but with specific bypasses, exploits, they can do a lot more because I've shown this today on the Mac. I have an app, legit app, it's AI, just generates some image, like just type something in. But underneath, it can bypass macOS security. It can get access to microphone. It can get access to a lot of things like full disk access. It can be a ransomware to encrypt your documents folder, for example.
And the Mac is not as locked down as these mobile platforms.
Yes. So it's easy to get something on Mac, but at the same time, Apple restricts it as much as possible. If app is not code signed, if it's not notarized, the notarization mechanism for Mac is basically you send your app to Apple and there's automatic check, like for malware. It's not perfect, but so if it's notarized,
it's better than just downloading from some random website.
Yes. So now Apple just gives that pop-ups and saying like, oh, you know what, like you can't run it. And you have to explicitly allow it somewhere deep in the system. So they try to make user not to run anything. It's somewhat zero trust. It's not proper zero trust, but if proper zero trust for the regular user, they would be upset. And they could allow everything themselves. Like it's not zero trust because like, oh, I want this app, allow it.
Yeah, and that's an interesting conundrum, right? Like having, giving the choice to the user.
Yes.
Sometimes if you increase security, like you still have to allow exceptions from time to time.
Yes.
And if you self-service exceptions, before too long, we've seen this like with the accept cookies. Like, what is that doing for us? Like, does anybody deny? Like, the website doesn't change if you click deny. Nothing happens if you click allow. Like, why is that even there? What value is that providing to people? So, I think we have to be careful not to create UX that just becomes annoying or invisible. Like, nobody reads terms of service, that kind of stuff. So you have to be very thoughtful with the design.
That's what we're trying to do in ThreadLocker because, like, we work with organizations, and they have their own IT departments. They can approve something, or
What are some examples of that? Like with, have you come into a situation where you have to create like a better user experience, like if it's exception handling, or maybe explaining to a user why they're not allowed to do something? Like, do you have any examples?
I mean, for us, it's basically if something is denied, they have a pop-up, a notification, basically saying it's denied because like it's a known app. So you're allowed, you can request access to run it. So you
right from that prompt, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, I mean there's a window pop-up.
Yeah.
So there's a prompt. You press request access and have a window pop-up, and you can explain why you need this.
Business justification.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of some. Not super smart things. Yeah. People requested a lot of things.
Yeah.
And now we have a new product, Insights. So we've seen it's anonymous, but we have data like what people try to run.
Yeah.
And we've seen some
I would
crazy
love to see
things.
that report.
Crazy things people try to run. There's Danny was telling this earlier today, so we've seen
this man on the telephone told me to run this. He said it was important to fix my Windows. Yeah.
Yes. Or for example, porn sites.
Yeah. He said
like from your organization, from within your org. It was like
I've been on the enterprise side. I've had to fire people. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for doing ridiculous things. You would think people would have more sense, but
yes, but people are different.
we have to protect them from themselves sometimes.
Yes. That's why zero trust works.
Yeah.
Well, as I told recently, like trust no one, especially if you're organization. Just pick what you trust and basically develop specific rules for your organization. And there's a less and less possibility that you can be breached.
So I mentioned infostealers.
Yes.
What kind of other risks or threats are you seeing on Macs today?
I mean, especially like if we're talking about foreign
Adversaries?
Yes, like APTs, for example. So they growing, and they mostly using 0 days for all of their attacks because like phishing, it's okay, but it works sometimes. But if you have 0 day vulnerability, especially remote, you can lurk into the system and just stay there. So they're getting more and more like not powerful, but it's more widespread, I would say. So that's the biggest risk that I see right now. Obviously, malware as a service, it's widespread now.
And where are we seeing these vulnerabilities in the OS itself, or do they tend to be in third-party software installed on those systems?
So both.
All the above?
Both, but mostly macOS itself. I mean, sometimes it can be Google Chrome, for example, if we're talking about
the browser.
Browser, like a remote attack. But it can be even Safari.
Yeah.
Safari is a little bit more secure because it's Apple product and they have more control over it.
It's more well integrated.
Yes. Because Apple, like if it's their own product, they integrate it better. But for anyone else, they're not going to allow to do the same things they can do.
So with or without Threat Locker, what are some tips you would give people for better securing their Macs or avoiding the kinds of risks that we're talking about?
So if we're talking about enterprise or organizations, like people need to get like proper training on that. It's still not work like 100% of the time. So, but turn on all of the protections on your Mac. Even File Vault, like it's encryption on the Mac.
Right.
So don't turn off system integrity protection. I've seen people did that, and I was like, why?
Because they're trying to install something, maybe, or
yes, and install something like even driver or it wasn't even signed properly, and I was like, why are you trying to install it? Like it's not secure. So your Mac is not secure, or they try to like pirated software.
Yeah,
I've seen that too, and there's a lot of malware in that too. It's not everywhere, but it's there.
I've seen attackers will even give you instructions on how to disable security features, right?
Yes.
And because we see legitimate software manufacturers doing that, like our software doesn't work right because Mac, has these but it's fine. All you have to do is disable all these things, and I'm like virtualization software in Windows. I had to disable some pretty what I thought were pretty critical security controls. There's
That's
like some kind of memory protection control that broke VMware.
That's what
and
I'm
VMware's
saying.
telling me to I'm like, I'll find a different virtualization software.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And Apple tried to protect you. Even they deprecated kernel extensions.
Yeah.
But you still can install some of them. But you need to go to recovery mode, and
Oh,
then you
yeah.
go like lower the security protection there,
Yeah.
reboot. But you can still do it, and people do it. And the legitimate companies, for example, for file systems.
Yeah.
So there's no user space API yet.
Yeah.
So people have to do it sometimes, and so, but your low risk is higher because lower protections. So
Wow.
try to enable everything you can. If you don't have any AV or something like that,
Yeah.
enable everything you can. Be ready and try to monitor what your computer do. So
EDR, something like that.
EDR,
Yeah.
I mean, like even Threat Locker, for example.
Yeah.
We can do monitor only mode. It's not our main product, like or something, but it's our product. But
Yeah.
we can monitor. If you don't want to like full protection, just monitor what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
even network, install firewall. Don't enable firewall or disable firewall.
Yeah.
But one case, I just want to quick wrap it up. So we had one case recently. Apple released like 15.1 or something, new version. Now it's 15.3. They fixed that already. But if you have an internal firewall enabled, any third-party software couldn't get any messages from the system about the network activity. So it was bug in macOS.
Oh, wow.
So they disabled all third-party firewalls just because of the bug with macOS. And if you disable internal firewall, everything's good.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty nasty bug for like
Yeah.
for users.
yeah,
And
yeah.
for us too.
Right.
People like, oh, why network control doesn't work? I was like,
Yeah.
I have no idea. So I checked. I was like, oh, it's a firewall. Apple firewall just blocks it.
Yeah, yeah. After the CrowdStrike thing, Microsoft was talking about shutting down some of that capability for people to run code very early in the boot process, right?
Yes.
You know, because that's one of the things AV manufacturers need. But again, that's a trade-off for an OS manufacturer.
Yes, yes. Same for Apple. Basically, we're not allowed to run kernel extensions. So if our app crashes, macOS still works. So
Yeah.
we don't have kernel panic.
Right.
We've had kernel panics because of macOS bugs.
Yeah.
So, but it shouldn't happen
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
ideal world.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff. So thank you again, Slava, for joining me today.
Thank you for having
Great
me.
conversation about Mac OS. And to access all the CyberRisk TV content from Zero Trust World 2025, you can visit securityweekly.com/ZTW. Stick around. Actually, there's our last one today. So don't stick around. Check back in tomorrow. I think we start at 9 a.m. Yeah, I think we're going 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow. So we'll see you then.